Okay, we are live in the B.A.K Playground for the first episode of Marketing and Content with B.A.K Radio. Our first guest is Chris Lubin, the CMO of Even. And if you guys haven't heard of Even, then you must be in the dark because it's everywhere. And shout out to the head of marketing for making that happen. And I'm excited. I know a lot of people in the playground were excited about this conversation. And I know you're going to drop so much wisdom for the artists and professionals that are going to listen. So I'm so excited to dive in. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. The honor, the pleasure, the privilege, the pressure of being the first guest, I guess. Not for real. Thanks for having me. I love you guys, love what you do. So yeah, happy to share whatever nuggets of wisdom I can. And if you have seen Even, it's not because of me, it's because of my team. I just try to get out the way and make sure they're able to do some good work. So shout out to the team.
I appreciate the humility. And I appreciate there's not pressure though. And what you just said to me 2 minutes ago, if we couldn't handle it, we wouldn't be here.
That is 100% right. If whatever you're going through right now, I know a lot of people are going through a whole lot right now. You're here because you're meant to deal with it, right? And you are gonna get through this shit. So yeah,
Amen.
we're all in it.
So at the playground, one of our missions is to highlight the incredible music professionals, their journeys, and be a resource for them. So I'd love to start by getting into your journey, you as a human being, how you got started in music, and how it led to your position now.
Yeah. So I mean, we were just talking about this, but I'm originally from New York, right? Shout out the Yankee Fitted. But my career actually didn't start in music. I actually have a brand and agency background. So I left school. I'm going to date myself right now, but I left school around 2009, 2010, college. Um, and I was a communication and rhetoric major. And I left college right at the height of the Great Recession. So there were no jobs in general, but there were especially no jobs for anyone who wanted to write at all. So I just spent, I don't know, 7, 8 months out of that just on Craigslist applying to literally whatever I could, marketing internships, writing gigs. Shout out to Craigslist, yo. It was when it wasn't just a bunch of
That's true.
scams.
I
Like,
forgot about Craigslist.
yeah, so Craigslist for all the for everyone who might not know, it's a place where you used to be able to do all types of stuff, get apartments and apply for jobs and sell stuff, all types of stuff. So I was on this platform, just literally applying to whatever I could. I probably sent out thousands and thousands of resumes. But I got my start with this internship called Peer Partnership, a tiny little ad agency here in New York, working for HBO Sports, doing like this was probably right around the time where Facebook was becoming an actual thing that you can use to market to people. I always call myself one of the first like social media managers of all time because that was my first job in advertising. Um, that gig led me to another social media agency called Attention, which was actually one of the first social media agencies that professionalized it. Um, I met my mentor at that agency, and then he brought me along to another agency called Anomaly, where I was leading strategy, so business, brand, creative strategy across the Hershey portfolio at the time. And this was like my first, I guess, real interaction with music and just seeing the power of music, specifically within advertising. At least, I was working. I was working on a campaign for Kit Kat, and we were remixing the jingle. Right, give me a break, give me a break, and we were trying to pitch the brand team on who should be the face of Kit Kat, who should remix this jingle, and we brought the thing about advertising agencies is that we're all young. We're just trying to figure it out too. So, we brought some folks to Hershey that probably weren't brand safe, I would say.
Hmm.
Uh,
Like who?
like a Jeezy ish.
Mm.
Those like folks who definitely were like popping at the time. We got turned down a bunch, but then we landed on Chance the rapper, and that was like a really eye opening experience for me because Chance at the time, he was coming out of his Apple deal. He had the Three Hats were just debuting. It was like a really like momentous time for Chance, and we thought like, yo, Chance would just say yes to us, just because it's Kit Kat. And it's
Hershey, yeah.
but it turns out like we as in Kit Kat and Hershey, right, needed Chance a lot more than Chance needed us, right? And I think it was that we had to negotiate for it, but it was that perfect marriage of like artist values with brand values, and Chance being, really ascendant at the time, obviously, and Kit Kat being such a household name that made that campaign really work and really pop. So we remixed the jingle with Chance. We did a commercial with him, a Halloween spot with him, and it helped the brand really like take off again in the US. And that was like one of the first eye-opening experiences for me of like, oh, like there's a better way to do this shit. Sorry, there's a better way to do this. And like music is definitely.
I'm Italian and Puerto Rican. You can curse.
Okay, I don't listen. And like music is one of the ways that we can actually do it, right? So that led me to help co-found a music strategy agency called Premiere with the founder of Downtown Records, and we were there doing like brand strategy for artists, right? So helping artists figure out who their audience was and how best to reach those audiences, and then helping brands develop music strategy as well. So the same way a brand has a visual identity, right, and a logo and a color scheme and ways that you should use it and not, the same thing we're doing, applying music principles for brands too. So did that for a while, and then that actually led me to Spotify. Big old Spotify. I was leading strategy there for a couple of years, working on just the biggest campaigns in my life. I led a campaign called Rap, which is like the end of year wrap up, Rap Caviar, Best New Artist.
You're doing some big stuff.
It was big. It was like probably like the biggest, most seen work of my career, And it's funny. Someone had like was Googling me for something recently, and they were like, "Oh, you won a bunch of awards at Spotify," and they just like enter us.
Can you talk your shit though for a second? Like, tell me about these awards.
We won. Oh boy, this is my least favorite part. We won a bunch of awards for the 2 years that I led Rap. We won In-House Agency of the Year, Best Use of Media, Best Storytelling, across a bunch of different categories. The one I guess that I'm the most prestigious one are the D&Ds and the One Show, which are like almost top of the top advertising awards, right? So, fine. Don't really like advertising that much.
We gotta take a minute and celebrate ourselves, man.
But we're gonna celebrate, yeah.
We're here.
Shout out to being recognized for sure.
Absolutely, like it's hard work.
It is.
Like you said, like we're here because we can handle it. But sometimes, like we got to remember all of the dope shit that we've done, and that helps us handle it.
That's a fact.
We've done some really dope shit.
Thank you. It's good to hear that every once in a while. I'll be done in a second. So Spotify led me to StockX. I was leading brand strategy there. I hated it. I quit after like 8 months, and I just took some time off. And that's where I met Mag, who's the founder and CEO of Even. He was, just building Even at the time. This is late 21, early 2022. And I thought it was brilliant, but I also I was just like, why doesn't this exist right now? Like, how doesn't this exist, right? So I signed on to be an advisor, and I've been an advisor since the beginning with Even, and then I came on officially as CMO about 8 months ago. So that is my journey, a long kind of winding road from the Bronx to where I'm at right now.
I wrote some notes down. I have a couple questions. We're here talking about marketing and content, and there's a lot of artists that are going to hear this. Hopefully they'll watch this video when we post it. And I talk to artists every day, right?
Yeah.
Through the Playground, we also have our artist services division. And I talk to a lot of developing artists, and, I'm like, what do you need? What do you feel like you need? What service can we provide? And there's always two things. I need publicity and I need content. And I think both of those things require strategy, right? Mm-hmm. What you had talked about was really implementing a lot of strategy into your work. And when you work with artists at Even now, I'm sure that there's strategy behind what you guys do. Can you talk about why strategy is so important in music and for music artists to think about, especially when it comes to content and marketing releases?
Yeah, for sure. I think strategy, it's funny because I think you probably get a couple different opinions now, right? Because of just the landscape of our own attention, how fragmented it is, but also like the nature of how we create and consume right now, right? But I think because of that, it's really important to know, one, strategy always starts with like a why, right? Like that's the first thing you ask. That is the job of any good strategist, whether they're called a strategist or a planner or a content, whatever they're called, right? Is to ask why we're doing this, who's this going to, where's it living, How can it show up, right? Like those are the important questions to ask. And I think that's really important to know now because there's just so much content out in the world, right? That it's easy to get lost. There's literally 50,000 tracks being uploaded to streaming every single day. There's probably, as an artist, you're not just competing with other artists, right? When you're in an Instagram feed, you're competing with the biggest brands in the world who have real strategy behind it and real money to put ads in your face, right? You're competing with your friends who, are sharing photos of their puppies and their families, and like it's really hard to kind of break through in today's kind of algorithmic society, right? So I think strategy or planning or whatever you want to call it is important because it helps you set up your why. And I think there's two critical parts to strategy, right? One is the why I'm doing this and the what I'm trying to achieve out of it, but then also like the who, right? Like who is this for? I think that's really like not just knowing who your audience is, but being like empathetic to who your audience is as well, right? And um, getting a sense of not just like where they're at and how they're consuming, but like what they might need at that moment. And those are all kind of elements of strategy. So I think some people like some artists intuit it, right? Like some artists don't need to hire a strategist to write a bunch of slides. Some people literally just get it and they
Mhm.
follow their natural instincts to get it. And I think that's great, right? Like every artist doesn't need to
Do you
be.
find that to be the majority?
Of course not. No, 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 no. I think respectfully, I think most artists are kind of out there a little bit in the wild, right? Because that's not their job, right? Their job is to make the art, and there probably a lot of time spent consuming, thinking about not only their art but their emotions that is going into making their art and the feelings and all the things that end up making beautiful art what it is, right? That it's tough to stay abreast of, Reels versus TikTok and all of the other things that we have to plan for. So
Numbers and analytics.
numbers and analytics and return on ad spends and all of this shit, right? And I think it's really important that an artist recognize like where their strengths are, right, and then where their weaknesses are, and then where you can get some help to actually plug into some of the stuff.
Yeah. You talked about the who, right, when
Yeah,
it comes to strategy. And that is one of the reasons we love Even so much. It's because you guys target the who, the super
yeah,
fan, the people that are going to invest in you as an artist and support you. Can you talk to us and let people know who have been living under a rock, who don't know what Even is yet? Which I don't understand because you guys are everywhere, rightfully so. You guys are phenomenal. One of my personal favorite platforms I've seen come out in the last couple of years. I think the work you guys are doing for artists, um, very few other companies, if any, really are doing what you guys are doing and making the impact you're making. So, what is Even?
yep,
What is your mission statement, and how do you guys target the who? How do you help artists target the who?
yeah. I'll start with the mission first, because I think that's a part of strategy, right? Is like figuring out that mission, like that's part of the why, right? And our mission is to empower artists and fans to connect with each other. And I think we can break that down a lot, but I think that's what we try to do every single day at our core. Even as the infrastructure that helps artists sell music to fans before hit streaming platforms, I would say in the most functional sense. But there's so much more to Even, right? Like think about Even as like a pre-save campaign that actually works, right? Like where you announce that you have some music coming, and instead of just someone clicking a random link in bio and then forgetting about it forever, they're actually able to engage with it then and there, right? And engaging with it means different things on Even, right? So it could be just access to the music. A lot of artists just do, support me directly. I want you to listen to my music first. But there's also these other access points that are available on Even, that artists can get as creative with as they want. We've seen, everything from like music to merch to content to one-on-one experiences, right? Like we just had a we just flew a fan out to a Trevor Jackson listening session,
Wow.
um, and just seeing like the energy of this woman who's been following Trevor for years and years and years and years and years, and just seeing her excitement at meeting Trevor was just like incredible, right? And I think it can get all the way up to that in terms of access, actually being face to face with your favorite artist, all the way down to like a follow back, right? Like we've had artists do follow backs on Twitter, adding people to close friends for a period of time. It's really up to the artist to get as creative as possible. But it is about that access. It is about that connection, and it is about that community, right? So there's the artist to fan connection, but then there's also what we're really excited about building is this fan to fan connection. I think another good example is LaRussell and his last release on Even with Pilo called Majorly Independent. Great album. If you haven't listened to it yet, go check that shit out. But he had, we also flew a fan out for LaRussell as well to go to the Bay to get access to his backyard show. This kid named Trey, shout out to you, Trey. And, you know, in the chat for everyone who bought the album, they get access to this chat feature, right? So you had hundreds of people in this chat planning meetups to fly to Vallejo to go meet up with each other because they all recognize each other as being
so cool.
crazy, crazy, crazy big LaRussell fans, right? So that's the power of the platform. But the platform is just meant to be the infrastructure, right? We always tell artists like, this is about you and your art and your music. We're just here. So all of the messaging is always artist led. It's always, come support me or buy directly from me, and your music just lives on Even. But it's really about the connection between the fan and the artist.
That was my next question is for artists that are interested in using Even or haven't tried it out yet, what are best practices? Sometimes, a lot of the times artists, like they'll sign to a label. I'm signed to a label now. My job is done. My label team is going to go and make me famous now. All I have to do is make the music. We know that's not the correct way of thinking about things. And I'm sure the same sentiment is for Even, right? You're on Even, your music is here, and now what? What's the best way to use it?
Man, I would say promote it, right? Like promote it the same way that you would, anything that you really care about that you want to do well. We partner with artists on these announcement videos. If you go to our Instagram page at even.biz, you'll see the announcement videos that we typically do with artists, collab posts. We make them even branded, but it really comes from the artist, and the tone ranges from really heartfelt, right? Like we have an artist named Michael Tong who did a record called The Serenity Prayer, which is just a series of affirmations.
Cool.
And he recorded his video with his son in a park, all the way up to something as ridiculous as like a Dare Silas video, which I also love. You should go check it out. But we want artists to have creative control, right, on how they're presenting themselves. And I think success on Even is leaning into, what makes you unique, what makes you special, what makes your fans already love you, and then just promoting it. I think that's like step one. You can't be afraid to tell people that you have music and that you want people to support your music, right? Like, I think we've been conditioned as fans to think that, we shouldn't ask people to pay for my art, right? Because we've gotten so comfortable just giving it away for free, right? And being paid literal fractions of a penny, right? So that's the conditioning that we have to kind of beat ourselves out of, is like, you can also do that, right? And there's like benefits in doing that, right? But there's also a lot of benefits in making sure that the people who really support you, people that really fuck with you, are able to do so in a way that makes it make sense for them. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is just make sure like your access points are on the platform are also true to you, right? So we've had successful artists who just do music, and that's fine. But if you're able to offer, merch or behind the scenes content, or like I said, like a follow back on Twitter, right, or a virtual release party, like those are all things that you can ask people to pay slightly more for, and that they can engage with you more as well. What I haven't mentioned is that Even works on a pay what you want model. So there's minimum prices for everything, but fans are able to pay above and beyond whatever they want. So Carolyn might have, sorry, what's your rap name? Lil Carolyn, Lil C,
Little CC.
Lil CC. So Lil CC can upload the release. She can make it a $10 minimum, but have a suggested price of like $30. And then if a fan wants to pay $50, they can do that. We had a fan pay $900 for a Trevor Jackson album
I
recently.
think I saw that. You guys posted about that.
We did.
What's the average amount like an artist is making? Would you say a developing artist? Someone that hasn't quite found a single that's taken off, that's really just trying to find their footing. What level of success are they finding?
It depends on the release. It depends on how long it's up on. Even there's a bunch of factors. If it's a single, if it's an album, if it's a long track, right? I would say what we are able to share is that albums are going for about $25 a purchase on Even, and
Wow.
singles are around like 7, 8, anywhere from like $7 to $10. So
Compared
you can
to,
imagine, right? Like
yeah,
getting, I don't know, getting an end of year, like needing to stream 1,000 times anyway, just to be able to be eligible to get paid by a DSP, and then maybe getting a check in the mail for like $4 at the end of the year, which I've
that's
seen, right?
insane.
$3 at the end of the year, or right, like still getting that check at the end of the year, but then also making your release open to your fans and getting hundreds, thousands of dollars before it even goes to streaming.
It seems like a cheat code.
Seems like it. Yeah, it seems.
Seems like a cheat code. It seems like like artists should very obviously be uneven, and I'm excited that artists that are coming through the Big.Ass.Kids ecosystem can now get to even, right? And I know we have an announcement coming out top of
Yep.
next week. But for those in the chat and in the space, very excited
Very,
that
very, 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 very excited. Very
we
excited.
are now even ambassadors. So artists in our platform can say, hey, Carolyn, hey, little Cece, I want to get my music on even. Hey, Selena, head of artist relations.
Shout out
Here's
Selena.
shout out to the powerhouse of Selena.
Facts.
Her
Facts.
energy is bright, bold, and beautiful. And
Unmatched. Unmatched. Yeah.
I'm a fan of everyone at even. You guys are all phenomenal.
We're friends of y'all, and I'm really excited about this partnership. So even you can't just sign up for even, right? Like as an artist, it's not open quite yet that way. So you would come to a preferred partner or message me or somebody, right, to like get your artist account approved. We're slowly letting more and more artists onto the platform, and that's just a quality issue. Um, but for partners like yourself, right, and we're really excited about Big.Ass.Kids. Once you come through Big.Ass.Kids, you'll automatically be able to have your artist account verified, your profile approved, and for select artists, obviously get that more white glove service on even including creative and marketing support. So I'm excited about that. You guys have amazing taste. You work with amazing artists, obviously. So we're excited to like get all those artists onto the platform.
Shout out to Leroy and his A&R
You feel
manager.
me? And yeah.
So we have time. One more question. So, as a human being, as a person who's worked for a long time and built a very illustrious career, what advice would you give back to our peers, younger professionals coming up, people that are in the game? What do you want them to know about working and keeping their head on straight?
Yeah, I mean, my life motto has always been like side missions, like you're always gonna have your thing. Like I love Snoop Dogg as a person, as a human being, as a someone who seems to have lived a very full life, right? And I think he's obviously has a passion of music, but he hasn't been afraid to go explore any of these other things, right? He is, and not just on the business side, right, but just like creatively. I think about Shaq as a similar person who Shaq doesn't need any more money in the world. He doesn't need to do anything at all, but he's out like DJing and playing side gigs on the weekends a lot of times, right? Like it's just for the love,
Every
right? So
commercial has Shaq or
every
Snoop Dogg.
commercial has Shaq in it, right? I think, and that's really all about like following your passions. Just because you feel like you're headed down one path doesn't mean you can't scratch an itch that may lead you this way, because what may lead you this way may either help this thing, or you may decide like this thing isn't it, but this is actually the way to go. So I think just like continue to feed your curiosity, continue to be open to whatever it is, be open to the side mission, say yes to the drink, say yes to meeting Lil CC and just like developing a relationship and then having a partnership come out of it, right? Like those are all things that don't happen if you have a very rigid kind of mindset about who you are and what you need to do and who you want to accomplish in the world. Like that's you're not gonna you're, you're not gonna have those serendipitous moments that oftentimes are what actually are the most important times in your life. So that's like a life thing. And then I guess from a work perspective, just like always be curious, always question shit, never just take anything for an answer. Like these are just rules that have been made up forever and ever and ever,
I
and
love that so much.
it's just okay to be like, why has it been done this way? And sometimes they've been done this way for a reason, right? But sometimes it's just like because someone said so, no one decided to challenge it or say yes. And it just became the status quo. So just like if something doesn't feel right to you, challenge that shit. Like follow, be curious about it, and then challenge it.
And also, like, when you really feel like you're right, you know, like I've been in situations where my boss was like, no, this is wrong. I need you to do it my way. But you know that, like, your boss is incorrect and you're right. And, like, you need to have the courage to be like, no, like, you know what? You're the boss. You're paying my check. I'll do it your way. But I'm letting you know right now that you're wrong, and being able to use your voice and follow your passion. I think that's so important.
Yeah, there's a couple times I can think back early in my career where and it's tough, right? Like obviously there's some folks on the call who are probably early in their careers, and it's not the easiest thing in the world to stand up in a meeting and be like, I think this is wrong. So completely acknowledging that wherever you are right now. But I think as much as you can and as much as you're able to and as much as you feel comfortable with, like voice your opinion. I think the leaders in the room will also respect it if they're a good leader. And if they're not, you probably don't need to be working for that person
Yeah,
anymore.
you're probably not.
Some stuff might reveal itself along that path.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people connect with you on?
I am on LinkedIn, Chris Lubin. I'm on Instagram at what's my Mr. Lubin, Mr. Lubin, I think. Yes,
Mr._Lubin.
Mr._Lubin. That's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. But also feel free to email me, Chris@even.biz. If I can help out in any way. Career stuff. Don't send me your mixtape though, but career stuff, life advice stuff. I'm not an A&R. We'll leave that to Selena. But career stuff, life stuff, like always happy to help, always happy to chat as well. So Chris@even.biz.
And you're in the playground now.
I am in the playground. Shout out to the playground. I really love the playground. And I guess that's the other part of the partnership that we didn't talk about is that all artists on Even will have access to the playground and all of the wonderful resources on there too. So we're excited to not only bring, artists from Big.Ass.Kids onto Even, but also make sure that, artists on Even are really set up for success, right? In all the ways that we talked about, and that they are able to have amazing access to the playground too. So.
And I can't wait because we have incredible professionals in the playground. Like we have, like I just got off a call with Ethan Saker. Shout out to him for giving our interns some gems today. But he has a #1 song with Shabuzi right now, and he's the one who did all of the ads. Like Desiree Perez from Empire, Rachel Posen, who led up Verve and John Batiste Grammy Award-winning album. Just phenomenal people to get hired, to work with, to consult with, collaborate with. So I'm so excited your artists are going to have access to these guys.
And there's real magic, I think, in like bringing people together who might not have otherwise been able to get together and to make that magic, right? Which is the magic of the playground. So shout out to y'all for that. And yeah, we're excited to make that happen for sure.
Thank you. And thank you again, Chris. I'll talk to you soon.
Of course. Thanks, Carolyn. Lil CC. Peace.
Lil CC.